Okay. Phil Lord, Chris Miller. First of all, congratulations. You guys got season 2 pickup for The Last Man on Earth. Where were you, Phil? I'll start with you. Where were you guys when you heard this fantastic news?
Oh, that's a good. I don't remember where we were. It just felt like a miracle. Uh, it wasn't something any of us expected. We just tried to make the craziest show that we could make, almost trying not to get picked up, uh, and somehow it happened. Do you remember where you were, Chris?
I think I was in my car driving to the Lego offices, so
Real exciting.
pretty glamorous stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Did you kind of expect this? I mean, the show is so fantastic, so you had to kind of maybe expect that this would happen, or did you have no expectations, Chris?
Well, when we started out, we wanted to make something that felt really original, like nothing else on television. And when you're doing that, you don't feel very confident that it's going to be embraced by a wide audience and that it's going to fit on, especially on network television, that's going to fit with the other programming there. But we were lucky enough that the network really believed in the show and they supported it and they advertised it and they put it in a good spot and they gave it an opportunity to succeed, and it was frankly shocking that as many people watched it as did, because we were trying to do something that felt true to Will and Will's vision and the idea that we had all come up with at the beginning, and the fact that people seemed to like it was really an extra bonus, and the fact that we get to make another season of it is really exciting.
And let's go back to the beginning. How did you guys get involved in this series? Will Forte is the official creator, but you guys directed the first 2 episodes.
Yeah, we've known Will for a really long time. He's one of the first guys we met when we came to town, and he just always cracked us up. It's so much so that when he was when we met him, he was a writer and performing with the Groundlings, and we were doing this weird MTV cartoon called Clone High, and we were trying to find somebody to play the lead, Abraham Lincoln, and we thought, well, what about our really funny friend Will? I know he doesn't have a SAG card, but there's something about him that just makes me laugh no matter what he says or does, and there's something sweet about him. And so we had him in, and he did put. I think we just cast him like right off of that, and he did the pilot in the series, and I think we got him his SAG card.
We did.
And so it was just somebody that we've always wanted to work with again, and because we've known him in a lot of different capacities, we thought that he could create his own show, and we almost didn't care if he was in it or not as much as we wanted him to be. He wasn't sure if he wanted to do TV at that time, and we thought, well, maybe we could just get his comedic persona on television. It could be animated. Maybe he would do a voice. And then when we stumbled on this idea together, after kicking a bunch of things around, he got lit up by it. He started, writing right away, and then he slowly realized that he wanted to play the part.
Mm. Everybody in the industry seems to just love Will Forte. I've talked to him. He's the nicest guy. But I want to know, what's his worst quality? What can you not stand about? There has to be something.
No, he really is the sweetest person in entertainment. Like, he's the guy. The part that's hardest is if you go to a party with him and you want to leave and you're his ride or he's your ride, he has to say goodbye to everybody and have a nice long conversation with everybody. You can't get out the door. That's because he's just such like a sweet person. He doesn't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and so that's that's his.
You have to tell him you're going to leave 45 minutes before you actually leave. That's important. And I know that at SNL, people wouldn't wait for him. They would just get in whatever car and go to that after party, and he would always show up an hour later because he would stop and sign every single autograph and take every single picture backstage or at the stage door, and people just were like, yeah, don't wait for Forte. He's he's a really sweet guy. I'd say creatively, he's a genius, and one of the challenges is a lot of stuff bottlenecks with him and has to go through his head, and you'll pitch 100 things and you're kind of just sitting there hoping that one of them catches on, and the synapses start firing with him. And I would say that was probably the biggest limitation, and it was a real tax on him personally, I think, because it meant that the hours that he was spending on the show were outrageous.
Yeah, all the hours in the writer's room, on stage, in the edit bay, it's just the guy didn't sleep.
Yeah. One of my favorite parts of this whole series, it's the surprise cast reveals at the end of the episodes. Like you think it's just a show about Will Forte because that's how Fox very cleverly promoted it, and then all of a sudden Kristen Shaw appears, and then an episode or two later January Jones comes in, and then Mel Rodriguez. And these actors are not in the trailers, they're not in the promos, or even their names were not in the beginning of the episode, they're held toward the end. So huge kudos to keeping all of that secret, because that really builds the excitement factor. How important was it for the show to make sure these secrets were kept secret? It was
another miracle of the show that we were in this era, in the internet era, that we were able to keep as much as we did a secret. Obviously it was really hard to promote the show when you're just following Will, because audiences are kind of going like, wait, so he just sort of like wanders around and smashes stuff for 13 episodes? Why would I watch this show? And we wanted to say, no, there really is. There's a lot of cool stuff coming up you're not going to expect. But we didn't want to spoil the surprise for the audience. We didn't want, to take away that fun of the shock of that moment. And the fact that we were able to, first of all, convince Fox to let us market the show that way, that was very brave of them. And then secondly, that we were able to keep everybody and everybody's representatives pretty quiet about what they were working on throughout the season. It made it really fun. It was sort of like a reverse Game of Thrones, where instead of killing people off, we were adding people.
I love that. That's perfect. That's a great description. You guys have co-directed so many things, including this show. I've always been curious, how do you both direct the same project? Do you split scenes up, or do you both collaborate on all the decisions? How does that work?
It's really a collaboration on every level, on every shot, every moment. It's very messy. There's not a real structure or defined process. A lot of times the tie goes to the person who's the most passionate or has the clearest idea of what it ought to be. And you try to defer to the person who's got the clearest vision in that particular moment. Or if somebody's really psyched about something, you just follow the passion. And then sometimes we'll be passionately opposed to one another. And luckily it's not a live broadcast, so we get both versions, and or we work it out, and usually when we work it out, we come up with a third thing that's probably better than either option. But it's fun. It's more. It's actually a good. It's a good practice for when you're on set or you're collaborating with actors. It's always our tour theory of of directing is sort of a myth. You're always in collaboration with your DP and your actors and your producers. It's creativity in groups. That's filmmaking. So this partnership has really prepared us for that.
Yeah, it's kind of good to have a sort of am I crazy person that you can turn to and ask that question. And we just do a lot of preparation in advance and talk about every scene, and so we go into the scene with a sort of a similar thing that we're trying to go for, and so it makes it a lot easier that way.
Mm-hmm. And Chris, I'll stick with you. Are you guys going to be writing any of the episodes coming forward in season 2?
No, we stop by the writers' room to try and pitch ideas for where the season could go, and the writers have just started to get together and been talking in some pretty blue sky areas, because this was something really special about the show, is that it's so open. You can really do anything. It's not like a regular show where you're like, here's our location, here's our character set, and here's the dynamic, and and that's what we got to play with. We're constantly shifting the dynamic and the character set and the location. So it's a type of show that's it almost feels like you're starting a new show from scratch on season 2. So it's been pretty fun. But we're not going to be the writers of any of the episodes. We're just going to come in and give some ideas, and hopefully they take some of them and maybe not, or maybe not.
Phil, what were some of the big challenges filming all of those outdoor scenes, the scenes in the stores or on the streets? Because you realize you could make this a whole lot easier for yourselves if you just stay inside the houses. But no, you're always going outside, so it must be really, really difficult.
It's a big pain in the butt. One of the things we learned was that over the course of the season, it was one of the things that people wanted more of, and we were all pretty surprised. We thought that as the show got more normal, that people would get more comfortable and that everyone would just be happier. But the truth is, in a second season, we're going to try to be outside even more, just because that's a flavor that we were able to do that you don't get to see that often. It's a real pain in the neck. You got to keep extras off the set in ways that you don't on a normal show. We thought we might save money on extras, but the truth is you've got just regular folks trying to go to coffee and stuff that wind up in your shot. You've got to scream at them. There's all the complications of trying to do a show about the end of the world. But mostly, I have to say, it's really fun. Setting up aquariums and smashing them is really fun. From a comedic standpoint, creating an obstacle course for a great physical comedian like Forte to just go off is like one of the great joys of directing. It was probably the first time we ever did anything like that. I think it's on 21 Jump Street. We set up a crazy band room obstacle for Channing Tatum to basically pretend that he was high on drugs and go crazy. And so this is kind of a very similar process, create a platform for him to improvise within. And so it's not just the outside stuff, it's stuff like all the water bottles on the way to the bathroom that we set out for him. That was like a clear comedic premise that's expressed physically, that he gets to use his body and his movement to express. And that's like, that goes back to animation. That's like a pure animation setup. So for us, it's kind of like the most fun thing, and it's kind of a pain in the butt for everybody else.
Yeah. Was there ever discussion to change the title of the show after Todd came in? Because, well, he's not really the last man, but I know it's almost impossible to change the title of a show once you've started.
It was never discussed, changing the title. Even in the pitch, when we went around to pitch it to different networks, that was part of the pitch. The whole season was sort of drawn out by Will, and part of the pitch was like, okay, I'm going to let you in on a little secret. He's not actually the last man on Earth. But we never considered calling it anything different. There are a lot of shows like Who's the Boss where it's clear who the boss is. It's Angela. So the titles can be deceiving, I guess.
Is it true the character of Phil Miller was named after you guys, Phil Lord, Chris Miller, or is that an internet rumor?
No, that is very true. It was sort of a prank that Will had played on us. We'd come up with this idea together. Will ran off to write a treatment, and then he sent it to us a few days later, and the first sentence is, Phil Miller is an ordinary guy, or something like that. And we're like, oh, come on. We're going to have to change that at some point, but we never did.
And you actually brought in a second Phil Miller, too, at the end.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we like the name so much, we used it twice.
So season 1 ended with a big shocker, a galactic shocker. I'm assuming Jason Sudeikis will be appearing next year. Is that a safe bet?
No spoilers, but there are lots of fun. We're gonna have a lot of fun this next season.
That's such a good, such an unsatisfyingly vague answer, Chris.
I'll say.
I guess you can't say it yet, but certainly, if I was a guessing person, I feel like that's a cliffhanger that'd be hard not to pay off in some way.
Yeah, I would think it would be rude. It would be a little rude.
It'd be rude. We don't like to be rude.
The Lost creators, they would always say, I would be disappointed if he didn't come back, regardless.
That's very good.
Oh yeah. Oh, Lindelof.
He's so good at that. That's like the main reason he works.
We have to talk about the Lego Movie and the Oscars. At Gold Derby, we were all shocked that you guys were snubbed. We actually had you winning the category. So on behalf of Gold Derby, we apologize if we got your hopes up.
Quite all right.
That's okay. Yeah, it was kind of, we were always saying, like, we might not win an Oscar, so let's, like, kind of pretend that we did for the, for as long as we can. That abruptly ended the day we didn't get nominated. But in a way, like Obi-Wan, like, it only made us more powerful.
Yeah, we got to keep our outsider status without being full-on insiders. It was really helpful for us, really, and honestly, the outpouring of love through anger and hate that we found online was really touching. Like, it was a lot of support from a lot of places. Probably wouldn't have been the same if we had actually gotten nominated. So that was pretty cool.
I love the tweet you guys sent out with the Lego statue. And Chris, you have one behind you, right?
It is true. Hold on a second.
That's great. I don't think I have.
I've got it right here.
I'm looking for mine. I think mine's in the office.
Wow, so that's almost better than an Oscar.
It's for sure. It's definitely more rare. There's far fewer of those Lego Oscars than there are actual ones.
Yeah. So therefore, it's more valuable.
Exactly. But there's this guy Nathan Sawaya who's like a Lego sculptor, and he makes those, and he was gracious enough to make a bunch of them to give out at the actual Oscar telecast.
Yes, that was a great moment. And Neil Patrick Harris, he made a joke on the telecast that if you're at the Oscar party with the guys who directed the Lego Movie, now would be a great time to distract them. What did you make of that joke?
We loved it. We were trying to help pull off that performance, so we were around for rehearsals and laughed really hard when he said that the first time. And Neil's been a friend of ours since How I Met Your Mother, and we've worked on a bunch of stuff together. So it felt, I don't know how he meant it, but it felt like a little wink to us.
Mm-hmm. And where do we stand on the sequel to the Lego Movie?
We were just having a story session about it yesterday with Rob Schraub, who's going to be directing it. He's a really talented and smart guy. It's really hard. It's coming out in 2018, but we're working on the script right now. But it's really hard. But I think the themes that we're working on feel really new, and it doesn't feel like a rehash of the first movie. And I think it's going to be challenging. And make the Lego and Warner Brothers just as scared as they were the first time, which I think means we're doing something right.
And switching gears to the Emmys, we were talking before we went live here about how, Modern Family, is it really going to win 6 in a row? This could be a year where there's a new show that gets in there, and there's going to be 7 nominees for Best Comedy this year instead of 6. What would it mean, Phil, if The Last Man on Earth were to get nominated, or if some of the cast were, or if you guys were for directing?
I mean, it would just be one more miracle that happened to this show that really, it's shocking that it exists. It's such a crazy idea by a bunch of crazy people. The fact that it got on the air, that it stayed on the air, that people liked it and watched it is all a miracle, and the fact that it would get that far and people would critically appreciate it that much is even crazier than that. It certainly would be a really nice thing for television. It just means that people are embracing, the audience is embracing, and the Academy are embracing stranger ideas. We really seem to be leaving an era where you were trying to make the biggest tent possible and entering one where you're trying to make the most specific tent possible.
And Chris, what are your thoughts on the Emmys, on the possibility of getting in there?
I mean, it would be amazing. I don't want to use the word awesome. We've sort of ruined that word forever. It would be amazing, I think, because there are a lot of people working really hard, really talented people working on this show, trying to make it something special, something that's not like everything else. And I do think it's good for television that people keep pushing the boundaries like the show does, so that it opens it up for other people to not have to just make the same show again and again and again. So I think, all the recognition it can get is just good for the show and good for television.
Great. Well, thanks a lot, guys, for talking to us. Best of luck at the Emmys. Everything is awesome. Love that song.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's good to talk to you.
Nice to talk to you, man. Thanks a lot.